Good afternoon, everybody. We'll give everybody just a minute to pop in. Hello, Lisbeth. Sorry if I said that wrong. That is a beautiful name. I hope everybody's Thursday is amazing. It is so beautiful and warm here in Calgary. It seems like we waited forever for it to be warm, and now it's actually very warm. We're going to play around with the Elizabeth Craft products today. Hello, Irene. How are you doing? And I love anything that's stitching or sewing. I think it reminds me of one of my grandmothers. And so that's kind of why I felt like we would do a vintagey themed card for this. Just and play around with some of those distress products that we may have in our stash. How's the weather for you today, Irene? So I pulled out some oxide spray, Lost Shadow. Got a little piece of tape there. And we've got the stain in Kitsch Flamingo, which is beautiful. Just sometimes checking. My iPad doesn't, either one of my devices is not showing any comments. So, oh, there we go. So we're going to use these today. This Lost Shadow is just a really nice one to pair any of your other inks with. I pulled out some of these Pink Fresh gems. Hello, Stacy. And this is the ombre glitter drops in Pixie Dust. There's a whole bunch of these gems in the shop in different colors. Some are ombre. They are really beautiful, and they have a flat backing. They're not super dimensional, so they're pretty thin. And we've got some old paper and frayed burlap. I totally have to show you guys this. Look at these die cuts. They are so amazing. It's cold and drizzly where you are, Irene. Well, I hope some of our sunshine gets to you. This cardstock is, let me just pull it out here, from Prism Studio, and this is the holographic. There's different ones in the shop. And I thought that the holographic one just kind of looked like it would go well with this needle and the scissors. And then I also pulled out some archival ink. There's some different colors of archival ink in the shop, but it's nice because it's waterproof, and we're going to stamp on our project first and then add sprays. And the colors can coordinate. So there's two different packs in the shop. And I'm going to shove that. Oops. And they are in some of the newer colors. And then I'm going to give you a close-up look at all of these Elizabeth Craft, the new products. So we'll go through that. And let me just pull them out. I also have some new things to show you as well. So maybe we'll go through that and then we'll make our project and we'll get a little bit inky. I've got some purple ink on my hand. Hello, Julie. So this new collection that just came out from Elizabeth Craft is fantastic. And I'm even pulling in some of an older collection as well. I find that her dies, they have so many beautiful small dies inside that you can really mix and match. You don't have to use them just all together. If you have a few different sets, then definitely you can mix and match them. So the stamps for this are Craft Studio 1 and 2. Hello, Tamara. And so we have, in this one here, we've got the pattern, sewing pattern, and I stamped these with the archival ink. So they do look a little stained. They don't come like that. But I really don't worry about it. I just wipe it off. Am I surviving the heat? Yes, I'm in my basement right now, which is cool. I did sit on the deck this morning. I am refusing to complain about the heat because it is so cold for most of the year. And I will go out and sit on my deck later when the sun is off of. But the girls have been coming home from school and just saying like they're dying. So, and we had to make sure that we've had sunscreen on because everybody got sunburns last weekend. So this one here, I love this stamp. I think these things are really great accessory stamps that you can add to anything that's kind of mixed media and you just want to add a little something. I love this. And on the back of my card, I actually put this little label, which I think is very cute. This American Thread Company mending wool, you could of course use it separately, but it fits perfectly in this little thread. Let's pull this out here in this little die cut here, which has a little stitching around the edge, and that's what we're going to use today. This here, there's another little mending yarn image, and in this there's I guess it's a rectangle, but it fits perfectly as well. And then you've got story and detail. You've even got this little tiny envelope, which is adorable. This, I think, I haven't tried it yet, but I think that it goes inside this, if I'm not mistaken. And this is really cute. So you've got this little bobbin, which you could cut, and if you have embroidery floss or anything, you could actually use that to keep your floss in kind of organized. Or you could just use it as a die cut decoration. So that's Craft Studio 1. And then this is Craft Studio 2. So this one has the crafter's nutrition facts, which is so funny. Creativity, enthusiasm, mistakes, too many supplies, 1,000%. Anyway, it's so cute. Too many ideas, 500%. This is very cute. I think that would look great on a card. And I stamped this out just on white with pink ink. I think that would be, whether you're putting it in a pocket or adding it to a scrapbook page about crafting or just using it on a card, would look great. Then we have the crafting barcode. So here I stamped it on the back of my card, which I think is cute. Then we've got all kinds of different sentiments. I used one of these, the Seize the Day, on this card. And then we've got this cute little girl. She's crafting, and she looks so vintage. The scissors and the stitching line. So this Craftaholic one a person who is very fond of crafting. I think we can all relate to that. And I just stamped it on this. Now this little file folder die is from the curved library pocket die set. So this is from that. And this is my favorite of the sentiments. I like crafting and maybe 3 people. That's so funny, and I am going to make a card with that. I think that's awesome. And then you've got the large journaling card, and these folder die cuts have different edges on them. We're going to use that today as well. And they are from the Library Pocket filler cards. So it's a die set that gives you 4 different dies for your library cards. And these little library cards, some are wider and they fit on the ones with the tabs at the top, and then the slimmer ones fit on with the tabs at the side. And there's various different sets that have these library cards in them. And then you get different dies as well, like accessory dies that you can use in your collection. So that is Craft Studio 2. Then we have, so the one we're going to use today is the Sidekick Essentials yarn card with scissors. So this fits in the Sidekick planner, and I know that Sandy did have the Sidekick and the regular planner in the shop, and there's dies for each. The regular one is a little bit bigger, and the Sidekick is a little bit narrower, I think. I really love this, and I will be doing a little page and putting it in my little planner. And these as well are great to do, any kind of planner pages, mini book pages. You can put photos in them. I've seen people cut this and then they put the photo inside using this square. And then you've got the scissors on the side, and they give you both sides of scissors, so you can actually layer the scissors. You could cut the scissors. Let me take this here. Once you have your page cut out, you layer the scissors over, but the one that faces the other side is going to be for the back side of your page. And I think that is so smart. And I love the needle that it's got in there. It's a good size. We're going to put a little bit of twine through this. And we've got, okay, let's see, let's go through these now. I guess this one is kind of more of a stitching one, the mannequins. So you get 2 different mannequins. I think these would be beautiful cut out of like some mixed media paper or something with a vintage background, or you could even go ahead and do what we're doing here, making the background paper and then cutting it out. You've got the little die for the girl right there. And then this gives you a die cut that you can just add this really fun piece that's got lots of holes and just lots of texture in it, and you can add that anywhere to your project. This one here I think is going to be very popular, and it is Sidekick Essentials 27, so 2029, and we've seen lots of tulle products coming out lately, and they have been super popular and selling out right away. And I think the assortment of tools that you get on this page are amazing. So again, this is going to fit your Sidekick, and I like that it is a basic page, and then you get this little die that's going to cut out on the end. And you can mix and match all your Sidekick dies as well with anything that comes with them. And then you've got all these really great, you've got the toolbox. So these would be perfect for a scrapbook page or for a card as well. And the detail is just so great. So this is your paintbrush. You've got hello Sandy, you've got the saw and the handle, so you can cut the base out of probably something like this prism cardstock, and then like we did with the little scissors, and then you can cut this piece out of like maybe a wood grain. We've got the little scraper and a screwdriver. I don't know what this is. Looks to me like some kind of a mallet or hammer, and I could be totally off base. Obviously, I'm not the person who works with the tools. Look at these screws. They are so cute. This would be perfect for Father's Day as well. And you could do the tools in pink if you wanted them to be like a girly tool page. I know Tamara has done lots of renovations, and you could do some photos and a scrapbook page with this too. So the wrench, this to me looks like it might be something else. I was thinking it went across here, but maybe not. And yeah, lots and lots of variations. There is a couple videos on YouTube where they've been using this as well. A T-square, like this one, maybe. You know what? I think it could be whatever we want it to be, Irene. Then we have the number reinforcers. So it goes perfectly with the Sidekick, with your planner stuff. But I think these numbers you could use wherever you want. You've got the number that cuts out, and then you have this banner underneath. And if you do want to put them in your Sidekick planner, then you can just put these little dies here, and it cuts the holes in them. And this is great too, just to have, if you have a piece of ephemera and you want to space the holes and have it so that it actually goes into your planner. Numbers are always great to have and good for lots of things. And then we have this really great dice. Look at from 1 to 6. These are so cute. This could be like a games type theme. This is another of the Sidekick planners. So this is 2030, and it's Sidekick Essentials 28 file folder page. These cut little holes in, or little cuts in the page, and then you can actually open it up. You can cover it with a back piece. You can stick cards or whatever you like inside. So you would just stick this inside that little stitched opening and have a bunch of things sticking out of your pockets. Then this is another little mini folder, which is very cute. So I think it's a little bit bigger than this one, but you could use those sentiments in something like this as well. And then we've got 2 tags, a stitched one and a large one. And then look at these hearts and the little heart planner clip. So cute. And then this, to me, I didn't look to see what this was. I was going to, and then I forgot. It looks like it folds over and tucks in. So it's obviously some kind of an element that is scored and folds over. And there's probably some ingenious way that you use that, and I just don't know what it is. So that's the new products, and we'll leave out what we're using. These are in the shop now, so if you look under the new products or Elizabeth Craft Designs, you're going to see them. And let's just take a look at a couple more new things in the shop, and then we will make our card. So we've gotten this Lisa Horton Crafts Falling Snow. This is a white ink pad, and I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I believe that it is it says water reactive and pigment. So it is a hybrid ink pad, and it's a beautiful white ink pad. I think having a great white ink pad in your stash is always a good thing. I did see a video where she was doing some ink blending and she put the white on first and then the colored ink on top, and it softened it. So that was cool, a cool effect. And then we've got the Retro Summer paper pads in. So this is the Craft Consortium. And we've got 6x6 and 12x12. And they're absolutely gorgeous and totally retro summer. When you see these, like you're thinking tie-dye and just beautiful. Totally summer. They did a great job of capturing that color. Look at that. I think any of these two are great for stamping on. You could use some of those stamps to just give the effect of layers, and you have your base there. Hello, Jennifer. I love these colors. So pretty. So you get, I think, 3 of each. No, 4 of each. And there are 40 double-sided sheets, 20 designs. So front and back, and then of course the 12x12 has those same colors but in the larger design. So totally good. Like, look at this. I can totally imagine a scrapbook page with this in the background. And look, it's like you could almost feel that texture. So beautiful. So that will be a good one, whether you're doing cards or scrapbooking for anything summer. And the other thing that I was going to show you, this album. So this is an album that I had put together as a kit, and it sold out really quick at Carnival, but we found out that this line is being re-released by Simple Stories for later in the summer. So we plan on getting the kit back. So if it's something that you're interested in, it comes with everything to create it, and then step-by-step instructions and a PDF that you can follow. So I just went through, and I'll give you a little flip through. There's ephemera in the kit, and there's paper and enamel dots and chipboard stickers, and then a sticker sheet, and then there are sequins. So it's the Life in Bloom collection, and it sold out so quickly everywhere. So I'm really glad that they're bringing it back. Yeah, we didn't think we were going to get any more of it. And we made up the amount of kits that we could, and then just thought, well, that's it. And then they just announced, they must have had a lot of people requesting it because they normally don't re-release their lines. But this has been so popular, and I think it sold out so quickly. So we've got a flap here. There's lots of places for photos, and it comes with the flip book and the pages in the flip book. So pretty. And then these are great too, to take these kind of kits with you if you're going to a crop, or if you have and just want to sit down and don't want to figure something out yourself. You have step-by-step instructions. And also I find that when I do these kits that someone else has created, I get ideas about how I could use another collection as well, which is great. Yeah, Vicki did a great class of it too. So that is a look at that, and we will definitely be posting that in the shop later in the summer when it comes back in stock. Okay, I think that's all that I had to show you. So let's make our project here. I thought we would get a little bit inky and not too messy though. This is something that you could easily do, not get too messy. I'm using the Dylusions mixed media cardstock. This is like a manila type cardstock, kind of like the tags, the Ranger tags. It's created by Ranger, but it's great with mixed media. And I had kind of forgotten about it. And I thought, I'm just going to pull that out of my stash. And it worked really great. I was really pleased with how it worked. Before we spray that, the first thing we're going to do is spray our ribbon. Thanks, Irene. So this is just a piece of seam binding ribbon, and we're going to spray it, hello Katie, so that we can set it aside just to dry. Get a wipe out. And I have the Distress Oxide Old Paper. This is the ink pad. And if you have this spray, the oxide spray, you can use that. And then we have the frayed burlap ink pad. And I'm just going to spray a little bit of water on each one of these. And then all I'm going to do is lay my ribbon in and then dip it into the old paper and the frayed burlap. The frayed burlap is really fun when you add water to it. You can almost see like it gets almost a green tinge to it. So I think that's good. And then it's just going to be very light and we're going to just set it aside. We'll probably still have to dry it a bit at the end, but this way it can just sit there and dry while we're doing our other stuff. We will have to pull out our heat gun. So I'm using the Altenews stamp wheel, which I absolutely love. Has anyone tried it yet? Irene, I think you were getting one. It is so simple, and if you have one and it's still in the package, just pull it out. All I ended up doing was adding these little enamel dots, and they kind of give you just so that you know the areas that you place in the corners. You don't have to put them on. I just found them helpful, and they had it was something that they had recommended. And then I put a larger enamel dot just on the top. That's kind of all I did. Then there's this sticky sheet that goes right in the center, and your paper will just stick to that. If you get anything stuck on it like dust or paper, you can just rinse it off. It just pulls out of there. And I'm using that mixed media Ranger cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to grab my thread stamp. And we're going to place that on. And I want to stamp in the archival ink. And it is going to stain your stamps, the archival. So if that's going to be an issue for you, just make note of that. As long as I wipe my stamps off, I don't worry about it. I think if it's stained, it just means it's used. But you have to do what you're comfortable with. You haven't tried yours yet. You're going to have to pull it out, Irene. You just pull it out, and I guarantee you will love stamping with it. So I really should get a reinker. I need a reinker for this. I've had these for years. This one is Vintage Photo. It was the original one. So I know that I'm going to have to stamp this a couple times. But I will have to order some reinkers. The new ones that are in the shop, obviously, if you have a new ink pad, it's going to go on nice the first time. But that's also what's nice about the stamp wheel. So when I put this on, all I do is I place my corner into the bottom left, then I place the corner into the bottom right, and then I just press it down. And then I just press it as normal. And then if you have, you could use just a cloth or something if you want to press on it, or one of the stamp presses. And see, that's pretty light because, like I said, I need to re-ink this, but that's okay. We're just going to do it a few times. And the reason that I'm using the archival ink is I wanted a brown ink. So I like being able to have a colored ink. I do have, if I was just using black, I would probably go with the Altenew Obsidian pigment ink. It's a waterproof ink and it stamps like so nicely, but I didn't want black, so you can see that's already much darker. And I like that you can get a bunch of different colors. So again, this is an older set. These are the original sets that had come out, and the newer colors are available. And if you're looking for, I think there's 2 sets in the shop, but I know that the set number 4 can be ordered. So if that's something you are looking for, you can ask Sandy to order that in for you. All right. Well, if you just wanted to stamp the top and the bottom, you could just mask off the center as well. Or you could stamp the center and cut that out to just have the center. How was your Crop and Create weekend? I can imagine it was very busy. And you can use the archival cleaner and it will take a little bit more of that off. I'm just giving it a quick wipe for now. And I'll probably go back and wipe it off a little bit more, but I'm not too worried about it. So now we can add on some of our elements, our inks, so that we can make it look really nice and vintagey. 9 classes, that's amazing. Did you, was it all layouts, Irene? Okay, so first we're going to go in with our frayed burlap. And I'm just taking my ink pad and I'm adding some of the ink directly on here. I'm adding some water. And then all I'm doing is I'm going to start dipping it in. And even just one dip, how fun does that look? It just adds such a really great vintage look. Now, if you wanted more of a bright color look, you could use some of the pink archival ink and add that on. And that's why if you started with an oxide ink, as soon as you dipped it in, it would run. Okay, we do have to use the heat gun here. A flip book, accordion book, pocket pages, and layouts. That is amazing. So when you're dipping your paper and doing this kind of dipping effect, you get some nice layers when you start drying it in between and then dipping it. And that's where you get that watery, kind of vintage looking layers, almost like water stains. And you get that oxidation from the oxides. Okay, then we are going to grab a little bit of our old paper. And this has a nice kind of greenish tinge to it. And you can add more or less, depending on how much you want. So you can see this mixed media paper, it really does a good job of being a base. It's fairly thin, but it really works nicely with the sprays and the inks. I also stamped on it first because I thought I would get a better impression, because you know how paper always works a little bit when you add ink to it. And I just thought it would be a nicer impression if I had it stamped first. You can also use like a laminator or a Mink machine just to run through your pieces if they're bent a little bit. We're going to straighten this out a little bit so it's not so wonky. So this one, I actually added a little bit more brown ink, I think. We're going to splat on a few splatters. So even just doing that, it kind of straighten it out. And I don't need this to look like, I mean, it looks vintagey and old, so it's fine if it's curved a little bit. This is the Lost Shadow Oxide Spray. And we'll add a few little splats of that. That's pretty light. I'm just deciding whether I should add a little bit of water. So even when you keep adding water, it's going to keep oxidizing underneath. And that Lost Shadow is just really subtle, but very cool. The oxides are neat too because they layer. If you have stains, the stains will, they're all translucent, and so if you put one on top of the other, you're not, if you have a lighter on top of a dark, it's not going to show, whereas you can see that oxide in the Lost Shadows kind of stays at the top. And I'm going to add just a little bit more, I think, just to darken that up, just a little bit more of that frayed burlap. And I'm just tapping that in lightly. So what's everybody going to do for International Scrapbook Day? We've got a crop that's happening in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group. So that'll be fun. So be sure to pop in there. It's going to start at 10 and run till about 6. And there will be challenges posted. We've got a schedule up there. And then you can enter your projects into the albums that are there and enter the challenges. We'll give you a week to get your stuff in. I'm sure that lots of people have lots of things going on. So hopefully you can just pop in and see the inspiration and the challenges that are happening. So I'm going to take this die and I'm going to cut this out. Even like this as a tag, it's beautiful. You're going to watch the coronation and do 2 crops. Scrap Shotz and Vicky's. Nice. That will be fun. I think I'll probably pop around, and I think Simple Stories has some kind of a hop going on. Lots of stuff. So it's so fun that there's so many different things going on. And I'm just lining up this die and putting a little bit of the yellow Spellbinders tape on there. That's still my favorite tape. Sorry about that camera moving there. I need a little table off to the side. I find that yellow Best Ever Craft tape from Spellbinders, I use it like 10 times and I just stick it on my machine. There's so much you can do. Vicky's and Scrap Shotz. Awesome, Julie. Yeah, and if you have a project that you're creating for another one and it fits one of our challenges, be sure to enter it as well. So we've got that die cut out, but we're going to add a little bit more of our frayed burlap just around the edge. Just to even add a tiny bit more of that vintage effect. I love vintage photo as well. I thought I would try the frayed burlap today. So isn't that nice? Couldn't you just look at that all day? So awesome. All right, so that is this piece. We can set that aside. And you just have to remember to wipe your ink up so you don't get it on your next piece. Let's see, now I have to find my other scrap of paper, and already I have lost. Okay. This may be my piece, or I may have said it somewhere. Okay, so now we're going to do the background piece that we have here. Hello, Helen. And again, we're going to pull out our stamp wheel. Is anybody doing the Spellbinders Glimmer Live? Sandy has those in the shop, and what it is a class put on by Spellbinders, and you can order the kit and order the Glimmer add-on if you want. So there's a kit and an add-on, and then they'll be using that in the live, and it's basically getting people to use their Glimmer machine, pull it out, craft along, and it should be really fun. So if that's something you're looking for, It's a really great value. I think the value is like $200 and it's $135. You're excited, Helen? Awesome. Oh, awesome, Jennifer. Yeah, it should be really fun. I love the Glimmer machine. And I think like anything, like this stamp wheel, like the Glimmer, if you have something new, just take it out of the box. Even if you don't use it that day, take it out and maybe the next day plug it in. Like just use your stuff, because once you start using it, you will be so happy that you used it. All right, we're going to use this pattern piece. I love this one. It's like, it looks like a vintage sewing pattern. And again, we're going to use the vintage photo ink. So we don't need it perfectly stamped because it can kind of look like it's vintage and worn, but I'll probably stamp it a couple times and then I have to remember to look for a re-inker. If there are things that you need re-inkers for, be sure to check the shop or check with Sandy to see if she can get them in. Because it's always nice to have a nice juicy ink pad. But I would say this is pretty good for, I'm sure that this, I mean, this has to be 8 years old, this ink pad. So I think I've gotten my use out of it. We'll do one more. We are going to die cut this out so we can kind of choose what part we're going to use as well. $200 value for $135. Thanks, Vicki. Thanks, Vicki. I'm calling you Vicki. Thanks, Irene. And Irene, your layouts, I think I'm not pressing down hard enough there. Your layouts in the paper crafting group are amazing. They are so beautiful. I think challenges like for International Scrapbook Day, or we have our monthly challenge up right now. And that one, I can't remember now that I'm thinking about it, but whatever that challenge is, flowers. I think it's flowers. It kind of gets you thinking about what supplies you have and how you can use it. So challenges are great. You know what, while we have this here, let's just go ahead and stamp our little sentiment. So we've got Seize the Day, and that's from the Craft Studio 2. I love that you can use these for your planners and your scrapbook pages and your cards. Just put that there. And then I will use my Distress Oxide to stamp this because I don't have to worry about it getting wet. But the archival inks stamp really nicely if you're looking to stamp a sentiment as well. And sometimes I forget about stamping in color. I may have put this on a little crooked, but that's okay. Use flowers, perfect. May is definitely flower time. And I just ordered some herbs from my girls had a fundraiser at their school, so we ordered some herbs to plant outside. We usually plant a few flowers and some cherry tomatoes we've had good luck with. All right, we are going to spray this. This is the spray stain now, so it's not that pigment oxide, and it's more of a translucent color. So I'm just going to go ahead and spray this right on. I thought I wanted this card to be kind of girly but vintage, so that's why I thought I think we need some pink on there, just to add some color into it. And then I'm going to add some of this oxide, so you can mix your oxides in as well with your sprays and stains. So we'll dry this and then we'll add some water on to get that water effect. So this cardstock, it seems to give you, it probably has a bit of a coating on it, and it gives you a little bit of time to move things around. If you just had a white cardstock, you can use that. The color is just going to seep in a little bit quicker. So it's good to play with different cardstocks and see what you like and what kind of reactions you get. And I need a spray bottle. Here we go. So we can let that sit for a minute. Okay, while that's sitting, we'll glue on our card base. Try not to get it into the ink. This paper is the Lawn Fawn paper. So I know the 6x6 paper pads are in the shop, so they would have a bit of a smaller design, scaled down. And I love this paper. So any of the stitching designs would look great with this as well. This is the back side of that, and I just love the yellow flowers. I felt like it matched nicely. And I have a Lawn Fawn stitching die. So if you have your eye on any of the older Lawn Fawn products that aren't really in the shops, when the new releases come out, Sandy orders directly from Lawn Fawn. So if there's something that you do want, or say you have a die that you need for a stamp set, then you can request that she orders that in. So just to keep that in mind. All right, what else do we need to do here? I think this is okay. So we can either dab this up or we could just let it dry. If we dab it, it's lifting the color off. And if we're drying it, it's just kind of drying in that watermark effect. So we can do some layering on this as well. We could leave this just pink with the splotchiness, which is pretty. And I think we should add a few more water droplet effects. And I think a card like this too would look really great with if you put flowers on it, and then it would be perfect for the flower challenge. I just want a few little drops of this, so I'm just unscrewing that. And then we can just add in some drops. I love this pink. This is the Kitsch Flamingo. I also like picked raspberry as well. And then just trying to think whether we should add a little bit of this frayed burlap. It is very pretty. You can see that lost shadow in there, and you see the water effects. Actually, let's do the old paper, and then we'll do some of the frayed burlap around the edge. And this isn't going to be too strong because I just added a little bit. It's just going to add some layers. We'll just make sure this is dry so that we can go ahead and die cut it out. All right. So I'm liking that. I like the background. If you didn't want it to sit down and create a whole background, a great way to use these stamps as well is if you have some pre-done backgrounds that you've just played around with your inks and sprays, and you then start with your pre-made background. So that's always a great way to do it as well. So this is the library pocket filler cards. And actually, I'm going to use one that has the one on the top. We'll do this one. So we're just finding where we want to place it and then running it through the die cutting machine. I've used these filler cards for a lot of different cards as a layering die. I find it's a really good size. So here's our pocket card die cut out. And then we're going to use some of this frayed burlap just around the edge, just to give it a little bit of that vintage effect. If you felt like you wanted it more pink, you could come in with a pink ink and you could go around the edge. just get that wiped up. All right, now we can put everything together. I think, yeah, this is still pretty wet, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit of this water out, even though it's taking a tiny bit of color out, and we'll dry that. Oh, I know what I did. What I forgot to do, and you know what, we may as well do it because we're hanging out here. I wanted to use this splatter brush and actually put a few splatters of my frayed burlap. So the splatter brush, it's just plastic little bristles, and I'm just rubbing that in, and it's going to be pretty light because I'm adding water to that. If you wanted it darker, you could add more ink. And then, of course, wherever the water and the splatters hit, it's going to give you that splattered effect. I really love this. And then I usually just give it a little spray. I've used this for a lot of things. I've used it with alcohol inks. So let's dry both of these. I'll be driving you guys crazy with this heat gun. Excuse me. I feel like you can't really do sprays though without the heat gun. And normally I would just leave this seam binding ribbon to kind of dry on its own, but you can heat it with the heat gun. It's fine. That's dry enough. That's good enough. So it's just a light pink. I love that. You have that brush, but you haven't used it. Well, now you'll have to get it out. You can use it with inks just by watering it down, or you could use it with sprays for a little bit darker. You could use like a spray that has a metallic. The mica spray would give you metallic splatters. That would be pretty as well. So then as long as you kind of just scrunch it up after, you're going to be left with this scrunchy, fun ribbon. I think you're like most of us, Irene. Sometimes I think I have it out just because I'm showing you guys, but if I didn't have that, I would have to make a very conscious effort of getting it out, because sometimes you don't think of it, or sometimes just pulling it out and setting it on your desk. All right, we're going to glue this directly down, and then we'll layer our pretty thread spool. What do you call those? Okay. I love this. I love the pattern in the background. Oh, I also know what I forgot to do. And we'll do it right now. It's on there. We should have done it before, but I wanted to use this and just kind of show you that you can add that. So we will just be strategic. So this is just this fun burlap, and of course using it with the frayed burlap, and it just gives this really great effect. And of course we are stamping over top, so it's fine if we use this ink. And if we were to add some splatters right now, then this ink would kind of move around a little bit. I think that's good. And those other images that are on here would be really great as well. Like this would be really great on tags, or this text. I also want to stamp this one on, and we'll put that on the back. So on here, I did it kind of like a little tag, but I think you could stamp it directly on. This is with the old paper. And I don't know, does anybody ever understand what these symbols mean? Like, some of them I get, but some of them I think, like, who knows what that even means? Isn't that cute? So cute for like a stitching card. And then we will add some foam tape. So I've got this great big roll here of the scrapbook adhesives by 3L. Move my little Hero Arts holder. I love this too. If I know specifically that I'm using certain tools, it is perfect. I have one on my desk too with ones that I use all the time. Different pencils or brushes that I use a lot. And I love that the backing comes off so nicely on this tape. Okay, so I'm going to just set that on a little bit of an angle. And then we've got these, and we've got our little scissors, which are so cute. Just going to hold this so I can get this glue on here. I think also you could cut this in this and then cut it again in a color and cut off the handles to have them in a different color. That would be cute as well. Now I have a little bit of hemp twine, and I'm pretty sure that I got this from Scrap Shotz. And if you look under hemp or twine, I think there's a bunch of different colors in the store, but I've used this pink a lot. So I love too that you can actually thread this needle. So I think I mentioned before that Erica is really liking stitching right now, and so she's been stitching a bunch of felt projects, and she was looking for something to do. So I got her to mend something because I like sewing. I can sew, but I hate mending. It probably will never get done. Like there is a box of things that people have suggested need to be mended, and they've been in the box for quite some time. Anyway, I asked her, she wanted to fix, there was a pillow on the couch that had a hole in it, and she thought that was the greatest thing. So she She stitched the pillow and she stitched a bag that its handle had fell off, and it's awesome. All I'm doing is adding a little bit of glue so that my thread here stays down. And this glue holds pretty quickly, so I can just see where it's going to lay. Oh my goodness. These tweezers are from Elizabeth Craft, and they are really nice fine tweezers as well. I think they may have sold out, but if there's something that you're looking for, I think that Sandy can get them in. Oops. There, that should be good. Hello, Lorraine. How are you? All right, so this is our little needle with the thread, and then of course we need to add some gems, and I'll just grab my little triangle tray because that's always helpful. And I think about it so I can get it back in here. So these are the ombre pixie dust color. And the Studio Cadia gem picker is one of my favorites. So it has a wax tip, and sometimes I find I'll just hold the wax just to warm it up a little bit, and then I can just easily grab the gems. And let's see. I guess we could zoom in a little bit here. Thanks, Lorraine. This was really fun to do. And then we'll put a couple more. I like that some of them have an orange tint and some of them are a little more clear. Let's see. You have to grab them from the top though, so. And then we want a little tiny one. Get that turned around. Sorry, I think I'm sticking my head under the camera. Yeah. All right. I think we remembered everything. Let's zoom out again. So that is the crafting dies and stamps from Elizabeth Craft Designs. And if you missed the replay, you can check out the other new things that are in the shop. There's lots of new stuff in the shop if you look under the May 1st category. And again, we're going to be having a crop in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group, so come join us, and there will be a grand prize winner as well as a winner for each challenge, so that'll be fun. And just, you know, it's fun to hang out and interact for National Scrapbook Day. And then if you're interested in that Spellbinders Glimmer Live, be sure to check out the shop as well. And I think that's probably it. So I hope you guys have an amazing week and weekend. And thank you so much for hanging out and getting crafty. I will talk to you later. Bye.